Look at the three of us ready for the schedule and everybody else just hopping on in. Welcome in, everybody. I'll take the lead. How you guys doing? Everybody all right?
Feeling
you
good.
talking to me? I'm doing great, buddy. I'm doing great. I hope you're doing well. Tom, you're always doing great.
Man, I love schedule day. Schedule day is Christmas. We know when our bye week is, guys. We know we can either drive to a place in the Southeast, go catch a game, or just lay on the couch.
Amen,
honest,
brother.
I've already set up my computer here, so I've got the schedule reveal to my left on the big screen, and then I've got my documents over here to see how these games match up with Major League Baseball schedules. So it's very important that we go to cities that are hosting home games. Like when we play BC, the Red Sox need to be in town.
Right.
We play the Pirates need to be in town. You get the gist, everybody.
That's a good point, Jeff. So they need to play Pittsburgh in September.
Yeah, relatively early. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get that game out of the way. Now, I posted a moment ago on the chat there. That's how interactive I am. I'm a man of the people.
Right.
I posted early on before we even got started that this is the schedule that I wanted. I'm willing to move some things around, guys. They didn't consult me this time like they normally do, but I'm willing to move a couple things around here if we have to. But, Corey, you wanted to – we were talking about Clemson before we came on. I think Clemson needs to be kind of early, guys, because you're going to have to replay that game in the ACC championship.
Sorry, I got a bug flying around here. What in the world?
Swatting at your
just the ghost. Yeah, man, I thought Clemson, usually it's in October. I feel like you'd like to build some momentum for those two teams having good starts. Like if you lose to LSU, you have a chance to string together 4 or 5 wins, and then that game is a nationally relevant game again. But yeah, you're reasoning that it might be a rematch. They might be expecting a rematch. You wouldn't want them to play them twice in 4 games or twice in 5 games. So it'll be interesting. I would still think October, but like late October, it seems to be when they usually play Clemson, but they might switch it up this year.
It'll be fun. I know that. So we already do know, by the way, a couple things here for everybody. Welcome into obviously our little schedule party here on Warchant TV. Don't forget to like, subscribe, send it all to your friends, and have everybody join and become members. Let's get on that. Stop dilly-dallying. But we already know LSU and Southern Miss right off the bat. Those two are already locked in. And then from there, we don't necessarily know, except for North Alabama towards the end of the year before Florida. But it's kind of interesting to think, like, you could move that Syracuse game. The bye in week 4 is what I kind of posted there. I don't know that that's going to be the case, but I don't like buys that early normally. Just seems like that would make the schedule work. But again, I'm willing to move some things around. But yeah, Clemson can't be too late, Corey and Tom, because that, to me, that's probably going to be a rematch.
Well, you want to capitalize ratings-wise at least twice in this game in separate parts of the schedule if you can. If you're the ACC and everything goes to plan. Now, if one of these two favorites slips up a couple times along the way, then it's just bombed to hell, and you get, Pitt and Clemson, and that's a ratings juggernaut, or Pitt and Florida State, and that's not exactly what you want. But you got to put yourself in position if you're the ACC to get the marquee matchup twice, 2 separate quadrants of the schedule. But I am dubious. You put that already. I'd love to see, Jeff. You put that in the chat. You would love to see this. I wonder what the actual schedule is going to look like. That just seems very interesting from you.
No. You'd love that, right? No, I didn't. I have no inside info. I would have winked, nodded for y'all if I did. I don't have any insight as to what they're doing this year. In previous years, I have. A lot of people, we've been able to people with good sources have been able to find this thing out a couple days in advance. But even the people I know who have great sources, and Corey does, and Ira does, and other people in the industry that we know do, I've reached out to everybody, and they're all like, no, for the first time, the ACC is being smart, and they're guarding this with their lives because they want this reveal show to actually be viewed.
These huge ratings they're about to get. I can't wait to see this.
You're trying to upgrade from the tack glasses, Corey. It's time to move on. Let's get some real viewers, baby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, they're revealing the week 1 schedule, which is Elon at Wake Forest, and then Louisville at Georgia Tech. And then we already know this, right? This is wouldn't this be the LSU Florida State weekend that's coming up here that they're showing? So we already know what's going on here.
No week 0 this year, gang. Didn't that play a big role, or at least a significant role in being ready for LSU last year? They don't get that advantage this year, does Florida?
Yeah. But LSU doesn't either. So I guess you're coming in with the same. But yeah, that was obviously a huge advantage, I thought, was to already have a game under your belt.
I loved it, and we all had a great time up there in New Orleans. Obviously, the game went the right way. Will not be quite as fun in Orlando, but hey, I've come around on Orlando. They're doing a better job. So we'll have some fun. It's not New Orleans.
Who's the guy talking right now on TV? Tom, can you see, or Jeff, can y'all see that? I didn't see his resume. I know there's EJ Manuel who they're talking to, and Mark Richt. I don't know. Is this Roddy Jones?
I don't think that's Roddy, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, either way.
Spot there. There you go.
I'm a bad member of the conference. I don't have the broadcast up because we've got an internal work chat. I was just going to go by that.
Oh, all right, gang. Well, I'm watching it right now.
I'm doing it too. By the way, they're going week by week for the whole league. They just did that week one, which we already knew. So we're stuck here.
So we're going to go week by week. Okay. Well, and also, if that's how they're going to do it, well, we know what the first two are, right? We know LSU and Orlando on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And we know Southern Miss the next Saturday. So win against interesting is when we get to week 3. If there is a week 3, they might have a bye. Who knows?
In the interim, we're going to be kind of stuck here, just talking about our wish list. But that's all right.
What do y'all think? Would y'all be opposed like a Friday night game or two? I know you guys probably don't like it because you're football traditionalists and purists, but I do think, especially those road games, it's really good when you're only game in town, man, and everybody's watching you. And when you're trying to build up a Heisman campaign and get more people interested in your program, and that interest has certainly been building the last 12 months, it's not the worst thing in the world to be playing a standalone Friday night game. It certainly helped when you beat Louisville. It certainly helped against LSU.
I will tell you this. Yeah, I understand what you're saying just in terms of the eyes on the sets. I am a bit of an elitist in the sense that we're Florida State. We don't need Friday night games. We're not some bitch-ass USF or something where you just throw us around on Friday nights wherever you please. But that said, from a viewership standpoint, I have to agree with you, Corey. Getting that game done on a Friday and then relaxing and watching football all day Saturday with no responsibilities doesn't suck.
But well, that's not the point I was making, but I agree with that point. Yeah, I completely agree with that point. I love like the Saturday after the Florida game was incredible. I loved it. You got to watch Ohio State, Michigan. We got to drink from a keg. Well, y'all got to drink from a keg. And you got to watch that whole day of football and not have to worry about your team that had already won. You had already locked and loaded your 9th win. So that was cool. But yeah, I understand it. It's just, and I wouldn't think they'd do another home Friday night game, but it's Florida State and it's the marquee team in the conference. You got to imagine that's part of the inventory that the ACC sells to ESPN. And one of these road games, whether it's Syracuse, BC, Wake, you would think would have to be a Friday night. I don't think they'll do a home game.
Well, no, you don't need to be doing any home games for the reason that somebody's noting in the chat there with the high school recruits. But on the road, yeah, I mean, if you want to put us on the road on a Friday night against Boston College, which I think is a distinct possibility, by the way, that may very well be that third game. I'm just throwing out a guess here, guys. I feel like that BC game is going to be week 3 on the road, maybe on a Friday night. Just feels that way, doesn't it?
He goes again with the wink, wink, nod, nod.
No, I'm not. I'm just telling you, it just feels that way. So what's going to happen?
If it's an opponent like that, if it's Pitt on the road on a Friday, I don't like it. I don't like that either. But BC, that feels right. It's the caliber, it's the risk you take. And then also it's what is the opponent the week before and the week after, and are you on equal rest for those games? If the circumstances all check the boxes, like if it is BC week 3, like you're saying, hypothetically, and you come off the Southern Miss game, that's a good spot to play a Friday game. But if you got Clemson the week before, hell no, man. Don't give me a Friday.
I really don't think they would treat Florida State like this. I know people will laugh when they hear that. I really don't. I think there's new leadership at the conference. I think they saw this year in the ratings and the story I wrote that's on Warchant about all the viewership that Florida State gets on YouTube, which is incredible compared to everyone else. They know where their bread is buttered, man. You need to take care of your marquee, your horses, and you don't need to make it hard for Florida State. By the way, what are we, 10 minutes into this thing, and nothing's been revealed?
Texas A&M and Miami week 2.
But we knew that.
That's what I'm saying. Last year's week 2s.
No, they're this year's, but we knew this already. We knew that App State and UNC and Texas A&M and Miami.
Yeah. They're showing the return matchup, right?
Wait a minute.
That's going to be.
There were highlights of A&M and Miami? That game had highlights?
It was a scramble. It was a Texas A&M quarterback scramble. It looked
Notre Dame at NC State in week 2 matchups. 4th ever meeting between those two. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh, by the way, which is a good game.
Yeah, there you go. Jerkovich getting his first taste of the Bearcats.
Little Cincinnati at Pittsburgh for week 2. That's the kind of riveting reveal we got going on the ACC.
A little Satterfield action, too. That's Satterfield's new location, right?
So We do know that Southern Miss is on the schedule. They have just finished week 2. It's time to get excited, guys. We should do shots because week 3 is about to happen. We should.
I mean, they're going to talk. I think they're going to talk about 5 more minutes about this week 2 coming up. They got to break it down.
I don't know about you guys, but I'd like them to break down that James Madison, Virginia game a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that is also happening in week 2.
Shout out to EJ Manuel, by the way, for having Myron Roll's book behind him. The 2% maybe, whatever. My way. I can't read the name of the book, but Myron Roll, who you all know, former Florida State safety, who's now a neurosurgeon, wrote a book, and it's cool that EJ's got his book behind him there with all his. He's got some game balls there, a Florida State helmet, and a Buffalo Bills helmet.
The best part of Myron's career was when he arrived after getting the Rhodes Scholarship, and it was very like WWF old school entrance where they follow the car to the parking lot.
Yeah, he got there at halftime of the Maryland game. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, he walks into the locker room. It felt very Monday night raw and not college football. Outside of that, though, he did good stuff off the field, though. Real good stuff.
He did.
I just keep it quiet on this subject.
He did really good. He did real well for Florida State off the field. But yeah, so now we're breaking down Notre Dame and NC State. I mean, if they go at this pace, gang, we're going to be here till 11 tonight. I mean,
this show ends at 8, Corey.
That's what I thought. But I mean,
at 8. They could be on week 4, and we're calling it a day at 8.
Oh, our show ends at 8. Okay, all right. I was going to say, I mean, we're still on week 2 essentially, and we're 12 minutes into this thing.
Look, week 3 is approaching. It's very exciting. Let's hope that it's the predicted at BC in week 3. If it's not at BC, I would like it to be at Pitt. One of those two, I'm fine with week 3. Let's make that happen because either way, we have an opportunity to see the Red Sox play perhaps and or the Pirates play.
Have you looked up their schedules? Yeah. Do you know they're at home those weekends?
Okay,
good.
Yes,
there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
So if it's Pittsburgh, the Pirates are playing the Yankees, Corey. And if it's in Pittsburgh, and if it's Boston, it's the same thing, right? Isn't that what we said?
Yeah, so you would go that Thursday because then Boston goes to Toronto.
All right. Okay.
We've vetted this thoroughly, Corey.
I guess, yeah.
Time today on this,
guys.
Yeah.
Good job.
Also, my job was to be here until the schedule was released so that Ira can join the fray and the Headlines trio can be reunited. I think I might just be riding with y'all until 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to last a while. They're doing it week by week, not school by school.
Here we go. I think by now they got to be wrapping up whatever discussion they were having about those useless week 2 matchups. Nobody cares. They're just waiting for Florida State. Here we go. Let's go. Let's move it along, everybody. We'll see. Okay.
What kind of bug is that, Corey?
It was a big flying bug. I didn't like it, so it's now dead. It's on my sock. So sorry to all the bug lovers out there. I'm not quite sure what it was, but it is no more.
I saw you.
Had a good light though, man. It loved that light right up until the very end.
Oh man, App State, North Carolina conversation, guys.
I'm telling you, Jeff. I'm telling you, man. Maybe once they get, I mean, I can't imagine they're going to break down every week. They can't this thoroughly and still be an hour show. So we got to roll.
We are 15 minutes in, and they only have it. They have an hour scheduled. Is that correct? I'm talking about on the network.
It is, and it is, and they also haven't. None of these games are. They haven't revealed anything. All these games were already set on everybody's schedule. We knew these games already. We all knew North Carolina was hosting App State in week 2, and Virginia Tech was playing Purdue and all that. That's already been established.
They should have rapid fired those guys, buddy. They should have gotten through.
Commercial break and everybody go. Corey can get some vodka, Mio. Jeff can. I'll open up a bottle of wine. And we can come back here. Yeah.
Oh, the ACC show is scheduled for 2 hours, guys. This is a disaster.
Yeah.
There's no chance. There's
week 3. Here we go. Week 3.
2 hours. What are we doing? All right, here we go, guys.
It's Pitt at West Virginia, so it's not going to be Florida State and Pitt.
All right, so it's going to be BC, baby.
These are the out-of-conference. Yeah, exactly. These are the out-of-conference locks.
Oh, yeah. So that's why I put BC. I forgot. I should have known it wasn't.
That Syracuse-Purdue game last year was bonkers. It was
that was early in the year, obviously, right?
Yeah, that was a fun game.
So, you would think if Florida State obviously is going to be playing it could be at Wake, gang. It could be at Wake.
That's fine, too.
Would make the most sense. Yeah, Florida State at Boston College.
Here we go.
On a Saturday.
I caught it right. Woohoo! All right, schedule the baseball games. Here we go. Tom, we're going to have to get there on Thursday, buddy.
That's what it's – we'll do a show from Boston on Friday, and we'll make sure that we're in Thursday night. We've got to land by about 5 o'clock if we want to get to the Fenway by 7.
So that is not a surprise, and it truly was. I didn't have any insight on that. That just made a lot of sense to me that you'd play that BC game relatively early in the year.
Hey, it's a break, too, that you're not having to play. Not that maybe weather would be a concern, but it can be in the middle of November. It could be you're playing Boston in the middle of September. That is a break.
It is going to be gorgeous, guys. That'll be a fun game to cover. We'll go up there on a Thursday. We'll do a show. We'll get settled in. We'll go to the Yankees-Red Sox matchup on that Thursday night at Fenway. Friday, we'll have a live JCS and a live wake-up war chant. Guys will kick an ass there, and then we'll go and cover this is going to be good.
I'm not going to Boston. Are you crazy?
I'm going
to Boston.
I'm
going. Especially not going to watch the Red Sox and the Yankees. But
Buddy, that's it. Care about? I mean, you don't have to only see teams that you root for. You realize?
Oh no, it's just the tickets would be outrageous, and I hate those two fan bases. So now it's a really bummer. I'd love to see the Pirates and the Yankees. But getting back to Florida State, that's a nice start. Whatever happens with LSU, for the next 2 games to be Southern Miss and Boston College.
So I tend to adjust my hat on a regular basis, 100 proof football, and you're going to take it the wrong way. You're going to be like, man, so I'm going to do like this at some point, and you're going to be like, oh, there it is. The schedule he posted at the beginning is all we need, because I got BC correct. But that also made sense. Now, here's where you're going to begin to suspect that I was tipped off. If they give us a bye in week 4. If it's a bye in week 4, I understand if you guys think I'm lying to you. But if it's a bye in week 4, I'm just really good at predicting schedules. That's all I'm trying to tell you.
And also, if you do have the real schedule and this is all some sort of game, I'm not going to sit here for 2 hours, man. We can talk about the stupid schedule that you already know, and we can be done in 20 minutes.
Just text Ira, and then he could get in here, and you guys see what this
exactly
contractually supposed to be.
I really wish I could, guys. Really wish I could. But let's see if this next week's a bye, and then we'll really start. It'll get, who knows, could be a bye. But if it is, that's something. But it could be that we go at BC, and then what would you think of this? What would you think if it were at BC and then home to Cuse and then at Clemson and then a bye?
That's fine.
You all right with that?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't want the bye in week 4, but I'm worried we're going to get it. I don't want it that early, but I'm worried we're going to get it. There is a benefit to having a bye before you go on the road to play Clemson, no doubt, if that's week 5. And I have a feeling to me, it's either week 4 or week 5 that you're playing Clemson.
Well, that would be crazy because they've never played Clemson in week 4 or week 5.
But again, they also got rid of divisions, and they are going to see that game again in the ACC championship. And if you put this game in week 8, you're turning around and playing 5 weeks later. I don't think that's ideal.
I feel like for Florida State to have their 2 toughest games within a 4-game stretch, that's not you could be 2-2 and have a really good football team. But you've lost any momentum you had. I don't know that you'd want to. Florida State at 2-1. Playing a 2-1 or 3-0 Clemson
Why
isn't
are you
the
out
same
here
deal.
Assuming losses, my man.
I'm not assuming them. I'm just saying that you beat that one team by a blocked extra point, and you lost.
And you got better, and so did they. Bring that on. Let's go. Come on down to Orlando. Take your ass kicking LSU. We're off on the right foot, 1-0. Then you plow Southern Miss and BC. You're 3-0. You're ready to roll.
Yeah, that's true, and you're probably number 3 or 4 in the country at that point.
That matchup with Clemson would be, and apparently they teased it over there. So if it is at Clemson, that is interesting that they would do that week 4, which means they're going to give us a bye afterwards, I would think, or maybe before the Miami game later in the year.
This is interesting across the board. Yeah, because Corey's right. I mean, look, if you lose 2 games, you're not going to make the playoff anyway, I don't think, unless it just goes absolutely.
No, look, you got to win games.
Yeah. You got to go you got to beat Clemson at least once, and you got to beat it at the right time. And then that LSU game is just a huge get out of jail free card if you can win it. But the thing about this schedule is there are so many games that you shouldn't have to be playing your ones into the second half that however you line it up, even if the bye week is earlier, I mean, come on. If that October is littered with Virginia Tech and Syracuse, I mean, are you really playing Jordan Travis in the first team offense for 60 minutes and ditto for the first team defense? You should be able to work in some rest for these guys, even if the bye week is early, middle, or late in the season.
Yeah.
I'm researching, guys, while we're talking here. I'm double checking something to see if I might be able to predict what happens from here on out. But so far we've been right on we knew the first 2.
They're doing a Clemson Florida State montage right now.
Man, would they really do that in September? This game's going to be played in September? That would be pretty stunning. I mean, look, it has to be played at some point. I guess you're thinking too, Jeff, like you said, is if it's a rematch, you want there to be enough time where it won't feel old.
I think
or
that's
it won't feel like it just happened. Like you're playing 2 months later.
Well, they're going to hype the hell out of this matchup as they're doing right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're hyping it up so much that I'm having to think that I'll be honest with you, a lot of Florida State highlights for a team that hasn't won in this series in 8 years.
This is the most Florida State highlights in a 1 minute sequence in ACC network history, I think.
Yeah, it's great. Showing Jameis.
We can't hear the audio, so have they already said it? Have they already said it, guys?
We can't hear the audio. There's Jameis sprinting. That's the last time they beat him was Smag.
And we said it. Sean McGuire needs our help.
Yep, yeah, that's right. And then here we go for the rest of these. All these. I mean, good grief! This is a 5-minute montage. Let's get on with it, gang.
Let's pick the game already, guys. Let's go.
What the ACC network should have been at launch.
This should be a repeat of all of the Florida State Clemson games and Florida State Miami games.
So Florida State at Clemson, Saturday, September 23rd.
So that is happening.
Yeah. So the good news is when you think about it from a football standpoint, maybe that kid is going to be a really good quarterback. Maybe his third game of his true freshman or redshirt freshman season is not the worst time to find him. It's not the worst time to go get him because he should be better at the end of October than he is on September 23rd.
This doesn't. By the way, as an aside, remember at the beginning, when we were talking, I predicted Clemson was week 5. So this is not staggering because again, it makes sense that they're trying to get this game early. I just wonder now where they're going to put that bye. Do we get it after the Clemson game?
I mean, if you do, then now you're talking about as Blake just brought up on the chat, you're going to have one home game in the first 5 weeks of the college football season, and it's Southern Miss. So your first real home game.
That's because he gave the LSU game to Orlando.
So that's October 8th is your first home game, like your first home game against a real. I mean, no offense, Southern Miss. I remember Brett Favre. I remember '89 in Jacksonville.
You remember Patrick Surtain?
Yeah, exactly right. But that's a long time to go with just one home game. So I guess that means there's going to be a string of home games in a row. I would think if you're going to have a bye, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to have one after Clemson. You avoid that letdown. Whether you win the game or lose the game, you get a chance to, I guess, get back.
Yeah, well, let's just call it for what it is right now, guys. If you don't go undefeated to start your season in the first 4 weeks with the 2 games being LSU and Clemson, if you go 1-1, you can't do any worse than 1-1.
Right.
If you do go 1-1 in that stretch, then you're looking at games against Pitt, Miami. I'm not talking about the order. Pitt, Miami, Virginia Tech, Duke, Wake Forest, North Alabama, and Florida. All imminently winnable games. Let's just be honest about that. That's like it wouldn't be impossible if you had the one loss in the first 4 weeks of the season to run the rest of that. What did I say? Wake, Cuse, Pitt, Miami, Duke, Bama, North Alabama, Florida.
No, if you lose both those games, the LSU and Clemson, if you lose them, you're not playing in the playoff, but you can still go win. You can still go win the ACC championship and still have a really good year. Not all's lost, but man, there is a chance. Now, there's also a chance you're 4-0 and number 2 in the country. You will have beaten 2 top 10 teams if you win both these games. You would be 4-0 and top 2 or 3 in the country. But if you're 2-2 and your whole team came back to go chase a championship and you lose the 2 of your first 4 games, you wonder how that mindset works. But again, that's what Norvell's trying to build. So
if I put
I'm not a huge fan of your 2 toughest games being in the first 4 weeks of the season, but you got to play them at some point.
You got to play them, and I think if you can just salvage – look, let's be honest. What are we going to predict there? We think 3-1 for Florida State through 4 games?
I think that's fair, yeah. I'm not predicting 4-0, but 3-1, yeah.
If you're 3-1, then everything's on the table. All of your goals are still on the table for the season. Now, what's interesting is Clemson's week 1 opponent is Duke, and that they're playing that Monday night apparently. In week 1. But then they follow with Charleston Southern and FAU. So those are their 3 opponents leading up to the game, whereas Florida State will have seen a top 10 team in LSU. You're talking about the preparation factor and who is more ready to go. Corey, to your point about a young quarterback, the level of competition for Klubnik is going to go light years ahead for the week 4 matchup. He won't have – Duke's a nice enough ACC team, but that's not like what he's going to see in terms of speed from Florida State. It's just an interesting spot for them You could say that they have a complete ramp up for a month plus camp for the FSU game, or you could say that FSU would probably be more sharp,
more tested team
by the other iron from LSU.
Oh, there it is. He got it in. He made it work.
Yep. Nice work.
Guys got to hit the gates, out the gates, ready to play, man. That is going to be, I mean, Mike's got the motivation now. This will be fun. Not that he didn't, but, I mean, you got to tell your team, like, we don't have time to half-step, boys. We're going to have to be ready to play. You talk about ratcheting up the intensity and the focus of the daily practices, already wrought with competition that we've really begun to highlight already, position by position. You know Coach Norvell is going to be preaching to them. We have to be ready to be at our very best. Week 1 against LSU, yeah. And if you didn't think so then, certainly by the time you go on the road and face your rival in Clemson.
So it looks like we're on to the next week, and that will be the bye. So that looks like
okay, so they just reversed what I had. I actually liked my version better, but all right.
So you have the bye after Clemson. So again, you're talking whatever the next home game is, it'll be Duke, it'll be Virginia Tech. The next game has to be a home game.
It will be probably either Cuse, Duke, or Virginia.
There we go.
Tech.
It's Virginia Tech will be October 7th.
Oh, wow. They're going rapid fire.
There we go, guys. That's what we do. Yeah, Virginia Tech. Fine. That's good. Come on home.
You better be at least 3-1 if you want some attendance for Saturday, October the 7th against Virginia Tech.
Yeah. And also, like, the one good – if you win both those games, or if they're very good games, you win one of the two, but they're very good games, and your quarterback has – because everybody's going to be watching Florida State Clemson. That game is going to, even if Florida State loses to LSU, Clemson will be undefeated. They'll be 5th. Florida State will be 14th. It'll be maybe the marquee game that day. I would like to know like what other SEC games are going to be on September 24th, but probably not a huge one. So it'll be the marquee game. It'll probably be the game day game. And that's a really good platform if you're trying to chase awards for certain people. To have 2 games in the first month of the season where everybody's watching your team. And that will happen with FSU in September 23.
Yeah, this gets fun, guys. I actually don't mind this. Okay, so you come off that Clemson game, you lick your wounds, even if you in victory, that'll be a hard-fought game, like you said. So, we're going to be a little bruised and battered. Then you're playing Virginia Tech. Now from there, I mean, look, the rest of this schedule, we've already talked about this. You still have Wake on the schedule. You still have Miami and Pitt on the schedule. You still have North Alabama. And then, of course, at the end of the year, you already knew you had Florida. But there's not much that they can lay out from this point forward that would concern you in terms of the order. Unless they do at Pitt and then Miami. And then, I mean, really even then.
No, at Clemson was the only game that you're really wondering where they're going to put it. All the other games are games you'll be favored in if you're healthy. And you should win those games. It really doesn't matter the way Virginia Tech, Duke, and Virginia are ordered, or Virginia Tech, Duke, and Syracuse. It just, that you've got your 2 biggest games in the first month of the season. And no matter what happens, other than Miami and then Florida at the end of the year, that next 2 months is about, just holding serve.
I will tell you,
winning.
It's funny. We already said that because of expectations and the enthusiasm around this program right now and ratcheting up the intensity of focus and the fandom. I mean, now that you have LSU and Clemson in the first 4 weeks of the season, we talked about the offseason being interminable because we couldn't wait for it. Now, right out the gates, you've got these games. It's time. Like, you'll know what you are. You will know if you're still in position to go to the college football playoff by week 4.
It's just hitting me, in terms of the workflow for the site and stuff like that. September is, wow, we better be ready to go. I mean, we'll always be ready at the beginning of camp at warchant.com. Make sure you subscribe, and subscribe to the website. It's an incredible deal that you can get through August 31st right now. That September is huge. If you win the LSU game right out the gates, you have
if you win the LSU game, it doesn't really even matter. You want to win at Clemson. You obviously want to finally beat those guys, but it does not matter because you should see them again in Charlotte.
Yep, you get a freebie. You beat LSU, you get a freebie on the path towards making a really good case for the playoff. Then you beat Clemson there. Then you talk about assuring a place, maybe getting a home game in the playoff if you can run the table. If you're 4-0, I mean, just to take the optimist side, if you're 4-0 after Clemson and you're going to sit on that for a bye week, I mean.
Oh, buddy, the conversation turns to college football playoff.
Yeah.
It turns to national championship aspirations.
That Virginia Tech game turns into almost a celebration for the fan base to come here and just, root on the team and celebrate the accomplishment so far. Now that you've achieved it, not mission accomplished. But yeah, you're going to be in that college football playoff program You're going to be on that top line.
Well, you'll also be like number 3 in the country at
Yeah.
that point. You'll be the 3rd-ranked team in the country. So, yeah, the next week after Virginia Tech is Syracuse. So that's at home too. So you've got back-to-back home games with Virginia Tech and Syracuse. I apologize to all you season ticket holders, man. This is a tough home schedule. I get it, but just come cheer your team. It's a faceless opponent. Don't worry about who's on the other sideline. You're cheering the Garnet Gold. It doesn't matter who you're playing.
It's always important to get the credit that we're owed in life. And since I typed up the schedule to start, I said LSU, Southern Miss, at BC, bye, Clemson, Syracuse. I got everything right but the bye week. So far,
I feel like where was Virginia Tech in there?
You're correct.
Quit looking for pats on the back, man. We all like you. You're all good at your job.
You don't have to
throw flowers at you.
I wanted to play your role before tomorrow's show, and I just went with it. I felt really good about it.
It's a good schedule. It's a good schedule. You should be up in Charlotte organizing these things.
I should. Right. I had it right. They just should have listened to me. We were all good. It doesn't matter. We're good. We're good either way.
Somebody mentioned this in the chat. Here's a way too early prognostication. What is more likely through 4 games? That the Noles are 4-0 or 2-2? What is the more likely scenario?
2-2. Sorry. I 4-0.
Okay.
4-0. 4-0. I think they have the best quarterback in both those games. I think, I know LSU travels well, but that will be a pseudo home game in Orlando. And yeah, I mean, they're due to beat Clemson.
You're going to be I think you're going to be an underdog on the road at Clemson.
Yes, I do too. But it will be it'll be 4 points or 3 points.
And you're going to be a marginal favorite over LSU. Those are toss-up games, man. That's tough. It really is.
It's like it's both. It's like 51-49. What you're more. Right. I mean, they're both highly possible. 2-2 and 4-0.
I do think that there is something that we haven't possessed going into this season in the last 5 years, and that is a belief that we're going to win these games and a belief that we're really good. Florida State has not, and I'm talking about the players and the coaches. It doesn't matter what I think or you think or Tom thinks. What matters, but it doesn't matter to them. And for those guys to believe that they're good and to step onto the field with great confidence in games that are going to be intense is something they haven't been able to say or feel, not realistically, in the last 5 years.
Yep. And I thought they handled the stage for the most part pretty well last year. I thought they played well in New Orleans. And even though I don't think the defense certainly didn't play well the last 2 weeks, those were big moment games, and they rose up when they had to and won those games. And I think that instills some confidence in you. Found a way to win those games instead of in years past when you found a way to lose them. And so I don't think the moment will be too big for them. I think they're all older veteran guys that have now been through a season of, at Miami, LSU in New Orleans, Clemson at home, even though they lost. I mean, they're used to those feelings now. I think that does matter. Last year, none of those guys have been in big games where people watched. Not really. Now they all have been, and they've all made plays in those games.
Yeah, and again, you got something to hold their attention, which is that 2 teams in terms of recruiting rankings that were pretty good in Florida and Oklahoma, but that finished with 500 under 500 records that you're in a dogfight with till the end. So you can hold their attention through spring and fall camp 2 ways. Number 1, show them the tape from those 2 games. Number 2, LSU is first out the gate, and Clemson is your 4th game of the season. They should be absolutely locked in. If it's Clemson, I wonder if they would have a problem with a ramp-up issue in camp. If you got Duke and then FAU and Charleston Southern as your first 3 opponents in no particular order, that's going to be tough to get them to ramp up on August the 15th. This group's going to have no problem in Tallahassee given the way this schedule rolls out.
So now I think the one we're really curious about moving forward is Pitt, right? Like where is that on the schedule at Pitt? Because they got who's their quarterback? Somebody transferred in there, right?
Probably, yeah.
But that you wonder about the weather. Like that's a road game where maybe there's it's 25 degrees or there's some snow or something like that. You wonder when that will be. That's my, if it's like the November 15th, then maybe weather comes into play a little bit. But other than that, I mean, again, you're going to play them. It's just a matter of when at this point.
I will not be overly concerned about an early November game at Pitt. That snow's not hitting us then, man. That's going to be beautiful. But yes, much later, late November, you'd be like getting closer to that Florida game. Like, what's the latest ACC? North Alabama is the week before Florida, so
you just don't want it consecutive weeks with Miami. That's it right now. I think that's the last goal.
Yeah.
Is you don't want those things back to back. And we'll see. We're starting to run out of dates, but we'll see if they can do that.
I would think they would sandwich Duke in between Pitt and Miami. I mean, you have the option to do that. And I want that Duke between Pitt and Miami because, well, and we're at Wake, right? So
Yeah.
Now they lost a ton, though. I mean, come on now, guys.
Also, if you're any good, you'll go beat Wake for Christ's sake.
Please.
Yes.
What are we even doing this show for if you
Yeah.
can't beat Wake Forest once again in our lifetimes? For heavens to Betsy. They're not. It's not Alabama up there in Winston-Salem, gang. I watch teams beat Wake Forest every year.
Yes.
So
That's
hopefully that'll
the
happen.
shirt. That's the T-shirt we'll sell for Wake Forest week. Is Heavens to Betsy week. Heavens to Betsy, guys.
Yeah, this isn't Alabama. This isn't Alabama.
Let's get it together and go deliver this ass kicking. And they should have a
Please.
lot of pin-up frustration. Like, I would run it up, Mike. If you're listening, run it up.
Yeah.
Drop
Get up to
80 on that
60.
ass.
Drop 100. Who cares? Just, you're right. Have Rodemaker, Glenn, have them all throw multiple touchdowns. I don't care. I don't give a flip.
Yell at him the whole time. Back in your hole.
Yeah, please.
Hey, get back where you belong. We're done with you.
Adam Brock asks in the chat, did he miss anything about weekday games? None yet.
Not yet.
Just the Sunday opener. That's it. In terms.
So
of
you would think if they're going to do that, Pitt on the road at Pitt or on the road at Wake. Those are the only two road games
and
left,
my
right?
guess is going to be Pitt.
It could be. It could be a Friday night at Pitt. I would say Friday night at Pitt or a Friday night at Wake are your only two options for a. I don't think they would make Florida State do a home Friday night game again.
No.
I think maybe they want to do that for the Florida game. I thought that was cool. I thought that was really cool, especially when they won and you got to enjoy it all day Saturday. But I don't think they're going to make, Florida State's fans deserve Saturday home games.
So we're here. So you've got some folks talking about Duke October 21st. We'll see if we get confirmation on that.
So they're going to have 3 home games in a row?
Mm.
That would be something. The whole month of October. So then on the road at either Pitt or Wake on the 28th.
Ira Lurking Singer. Maybe there's not a Friday game at all. That would be nice. Take that.
Well, maybe there wouldn't be because, as I said before, we're not some slapdicks that just you throw on whenever you want, like a Wednesday or a Friday, like we're USF. No.
I mean, again, it's not like the ACC has a lot of greatness to sell. Let's see, October 21st, Duke at Florida State. So 3 straight. So that's 3 straight home games. It's Virginia Tech, Syracuse, and Duke.
Whew,
We're coming off a bye. So
you better be 3-1 or better before that stretch starts. I'm just saying, asking people to get on the road consecutive weeks. Got to have a single digit next to your school name when you kick off all of those games.
And then after that, it's FSU. Well, we're already into the week 9 matchups. Okay. They are flying now.
Wake. FSU's at Wake.
So the end of October is FSU at Wake. So that does mean that Pitt is in November, clearly. And I guess that would be.
And that's it.
Yeah, Miami. And there's the Miami home game.
Yeah. So we just got those 2 games.
So they will.
So we just got to see which way they're organized.
Because you already know UF and North Alabama. So we're just wrapping this up.
Would they send you to Wake and to Pitt consecutive weeks? Feels like Miami would be next. And then they'd send you to Pitt before North Alabama.
The real question is, when does Miami play Duke? That's the game that needs all the eyeballs we're going to
those Miami fans right now are very nervous about that.
Yeah, where is that? Where is that scheduled?
When do they play Duke on the road, trying to avoid yet another loss to the Blue Devils?
So, yeah, Florida State at Wake on Saturday, October 28th. Syracuse at Virginia Tech.
Nice weather up on Snuggy Hill, Corey.
Hey, it'll be a nip in the air.
We should get our bottle of wine, buddy.
Yeah,
and
get a blanket. That's probably it's probably low 50s, high 40s at that point. That's perfect.
Be glorious, right?
Be a great picnic day.
Maybe a little 3:30 kick.
How about the slugfest on Thursday, the 26th of October between Syracuse and Virginia Tech?
That's what I'm saying. You would think the ACC would want, we'll give you one of our juggernauts for one of these standalone games. Thank you, Khalil. Thank you, buddy.
This is the year we beat Clemson. God's name, image, and likeness. Please let it be this year. Starting as 4-0, start the season. By the way, it's sad what happened to Virginia Tech after Beamer. Well, they were on the decline with Beamer. That was beginning to mirror a certain situation in Tallahassee. But yeah,
they have not rebounded well at all there in Blacksburg, and it's too bad because they do have a really good fan base. And thank you, Florida man in Texas.
Absolutely.
Is that where
we'll do cigars? We'll be in Houston smoking cigars if they're in the national championship game.
that's where the final game is this year, Houston, huh? All right.
Miami has to play North Carolina, then Clemson back to back.
Yeah, and don't forget the home game with the Aggies.
And they've got that Duke roadie with Elko.
That's right. That's right. No love lost there with those programs.
You got 4 losses right there, plus the loss to us. So that's 5.
So I got to think that Miami's going to be November 5th. Then Miami's going to be the next Saturday.
Oh, I'm liking this, man.
November 4th.
The weather in November with people getting pumped up. They're coming up here on the heels of that 45-3 ass beating they took. Woo!
Yeah, I feel like that'll be that has to, and then that means you're at Pitt, North Alabama, and then Florida to close it out.
So Wake, home to Miami, at Pitt, if that is indeed the sequence, that's not nothing. That's not a nothing stretch. Now, heavens to Betsy, we all agree. Right. Heavens to Betsy, but that's at least something to keep your attention.
Yeah, I kind of would have liked Duke, Virginia Tech, and Syracuse to be broken up a little bit instead of that. It rings very similar to what they did this year with, Georgia Tech, Miami, Syracuse, Louisiana. But that was also a really fun run. You get some momentum going. You feel good. You put up a lot of points and yards and touchdowns.
Well, you know what the biggest problem is, guys. We play in the ACC.
Well, you can't do not a lot of lipstick.
So much. Yeah. You can reconfigure this baby till the cows come home. At some point, you're going to play a stretch of games against teams that suck.
Yep, and that pig. It doesn't matter if it's in a Marilyn Monroe dress with the sewer blowing it up. It's still a pig. So I got you. Yeah, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, there's going to always be a trifecta of suck in there.
Yeah, clearly. So
that's what are you going to do?
You're right, Corey. I'm just thinking about the existence for a season ticket holder this year. Now, it's good. It's good that you only have one home game in September. It's too hot anyway. But that sequence in October where you need to be away from your own home, your own comfortable situation 3 weeks in a row for these 3 opponents. That's a tough ask.
Ooh, so it's Florida State at Pitt. Yeah, and you're right. So it's Florida State at Pitt on November 4th. So it's back-to-back at Wake, at Pitt. So then that means Miami is the next week. So you got at Pitt, Miami, North Alabama, Florida.
Ooh, this harkens us back, Corey, to the ancient times. I remember when Florida State played Miami in Florida back to back.
Yeah, and they lost both of them. It was the wide right year. That was a great.
One of them was 14-9.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting to get Miami and then so at Wake, at Pitt, Miami. Then North Alabama to kind of rest up, and then Florida. That's not the easiest finish to a season, but again, we're not asking you to go beat the Eagles or the Chiefs.
We're not asking you to go beat freaking Auburn and Ole Miss. We're asking you to beat Pitt and Wake Forest. And honestly, Miami.
We never really know what these teams are in January of that year, right? Like if we'd have been doing this last year, we'd have thought that at Miami game was going to be potentially against a top 20 team, against one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and it turned out to be a joke. So you don't really know, but yeah, you're right. It's the ACC. How can you can't sweat too much about the order of these games.
If Florida State is on the path to being a championship caliber team again, I just don't want to get caught up in arguing about this schedule. It's it's not that hard a schedule. Yeah. Look, you have enough great games against very good teams, LSU and Clemson. You really don't want more than, say, 3 really hard games if you're trying to get to the college football playoff. And you don't really have any more than 3 hard games. You have 2 really hard games. We'll see what Florida is. I have a feeling it's not going to be a great season for UF. We know Miami's not any good, and they're coming up here, so they're going to take that ass kicking. If you're a championship caliber team, you got to be able to beat Pitt and Wake.
Yeah. And it's not like those are snake pits to go play in. It's Snuggy Hill, and it's, the Pitt doesn't sell out. It's not the Steelers. By the way, I wonder if the Steelers are playing that Saturday. That maybe they're playing the Browns, and Stephanie and I can go.
There you go.
Go watch that. Make it a trip.
Maybe they're.
I've driven to Pittsburgh before. I can drive to Pittsburgh again. I don't care. I love that
Austin,
drive.
we do play Miami here at Doak. I said coming on up. We beat their ass last year down there, 45-3 in front of those 17 fans that were still in the stadium at the end of that game for them.
Yeah.
Who is Miami's opponent before Florida State? Have we got that matchup yet?
Tom Lang maybe can dissect that.
I'll find it.
They haven't officially announced the Miami game yet.
Right. We just know.
I mean, they wouldn't put it on a weekday, would they? That would be something.
No, that would be really bad. No, to the Florida State fans that already have this home schedule to deal with, and then you put their best home game on a Friday night, that wouldn't.
Miami is at NC State the week prior.
Ooh, Hurricanes might be reeling. You can't go. Raleigh's not easy to go in and win. Just ask Alex Mastromano.
Okay, NC State on the road for Miami. All right, well.
All right, we got one more we got one more break. One more commercial break, and then it's rivalry week. So, yeah, playing Miami and Florida 2 of the last 3 weeks. That's what they did. Maybe that's what they're always going to do. They did that 2 years ago. The 4th and 14, they played Miami at home, went to Boston College, won that, and then went to Florida. So this might be, as we move on here, this might be the norm. And when you're playing Miami at home, you're going to play Miami the 10th game of the year, have somebody in between, and then Florida the 12th game.
Which will be a problem if Miami ever returns to form. Now, it's been over 20 years.
Yes.
There's a chance they never do. But again, if they ever do, if you're playing, if we return to the halcyon days of the 90s in which Florida State, Florida, and Miami were 3 of the best 5 teams in the country,
yeah,
then that's a bit much.
Yes, correct.
We'll see if worry about that and cross that bridge when we come to it. But still,
I think it's fun to speculate on just how broken Miami could be in that particular 2023 campaign by the time they get to Tallahassee in November. Given that they do have a bit of their own murderer's row before they get here, that could be a group where all the media coverage for them is, boy, that Mario is they're on thin ice here. I don't know. Are they going to have a transfer purge the way that A&M did the year before? That could be the talking point. Then Florida State just kind of finishes the job.
The good part about the talking point is no matter what it is, they're going to show the replays of 45-3.
Yeah, and Jamie Robinson hurling that kid like a child.
Yeah.
Do we I mean, we know what it is now. So do we still stick here and do this, or are we good? Like,
we got 12 minutes, Corey. We can make it. We can let it ride for 12 minutes.
All right,
we can promise the people an hour. We'll give them an hour.
Well, all right. That's good. Hey, that's nice of you, Jeff.
That's we're working here. Don't worry. I promised the kids ice cream afterwards as well. We're getting out of date, guys.
Nice, man. Cool.
Oh, man.
Full of satisfaction with the schedule. I mean, again, we all understand the degree of difficulty if you're going to be a playoff team. This should be more than feasible and doable.
So I think sometimes, oddly enough, let's do this, right? Somebody get on this and post the damn schedule up here so that everybody tuning in to the chat here can see it. Ben, are you on this? Let's go.
Well, it's on the bottom line scroll. There you go.
There it is. There it is. I like it. Okay, let's look at it, boys and girls. LSU, Southern Miss, BC, Clemson, bye week, Vatex, Syracuse, Duke, Wake, Pitt, Miami, North. It's, you know what? It looks good. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes just seeing it.
You should be more than ready for that Wake Forest game. I'm just saying. You should be more than ready for that trip to Wake, that trip to Pitt. After what you're doing from September 30th up until you hit the road for the 28th, my God.
Really, from the 24th. I mean, you have a bye week, so you've got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you've got 4 weeks to kind of really get ready for that Wake game. And again, for all we know, Wake might be 3-6 at that point, or hey, who knows, 9-0. But you look at that schedule, and there's really no way that could have been organized where you'd been like, well, that's a disaster. Maybe having Clemson at the September 16th, maybe. Or right before Florida, like right where Miami is. But I just think you've got LSU, you've got a few weeks off, you got Clemson, you've got a month off, you've got Miami and Florida there. It seems like it's certainly doable.
The stretch that everybody will fret over, I think, and we'll see what they're going to be. Elko won 8 games at Duke this year. They had the 31st ranked defense in the country. They were the 5th best defense in the ACC. If they take big steps forward and have a good season, and we'll know by the time we play them, that stretch of and it's not brutal. I'm not trying to paint a picture that's irrational, but again, that stretch, Duke followed by throw it back up there real quick.
Duke, Wake, Pitt, Miami.
Yeah, that's the stretch. It's Duke, Wake, Pitt, Miami. If those teams end up being good, as in let's say Miami bounces back big time and they're a 7 or 8 win type team. If Pitt is consistent and plays good defense and they're an 8-win team, Wake is extremely well coached. I know they'll take a step back because they don't have a 40-year-old quarterback terrorizing the league again, but I would think that they'll still be decent. I know they lost a lot, but they're well coached. So that would be the stretch that people would be nervous about. Obviously, LSU and Clemson within the first 4 weeks speaks to itself, but the 2 in the middle there, Southern Miss and BC, are nothing games.
Yeah, that month of September is just something. You got to be at least 3-1 if you want all. I mean, you can be
3-1 going to the bye week, guys. That's what they got to be.
You could be 2-2 and still have a shot at the ACC title, but I mean,
but the one worry I had, and you can take that off now. We've all memorized it, Ben. The one worry I have about if you do start out 2-2, yes, all your goals are still in front of you as far as winning the ACC, but what's those next 4 weeks going to be like from a fan interest standpoint when it's Virginia Tech, Syracuse, and Duke at home? In the 2 big games that you had in September, you lost them both. Now you can get them back on your side. Like you did this past year. You lost 3 in a row last year and this past year and you got the fans back on your side. So that can happen. Just win 3 games in September. Win 3 games in September. I don't care lose to Southern Miss. I don't care.
Well,
just win 3 games in September.
Trying to go to the playoff, man. I can't be losing to Southern Miss.
If you beat LSU and Clemson, Southern Miss might be loaded.
Miss, buddy. I actually think I agree with who was it just said in the chat. Yeah, Khalil, I agree with you. Virginia Tech's a name. I know they haven't been good, but you see that helmet. It's an attractive game.
Yeah.
It's an attractive game. But let's not lose sight of the fact that Florida State just won their fans back.
Yeah,
they just won everybody back. It was a lovable bunch, and they re-signed the vast majority of them. They're all coming back to do it again and to actually achieve something of note this time around, meaning a conference championship or a college football playoff berth. Most of the time when you're really good, you can still pretty much sell out that stadium because you're the attraction. You don't need the other team. You just need to be good. And we think Florida State's going to be good.
But I guess I was more the fans too, but also, again, I don't think they're going to be 2-2. But if they were, what happens to the player's psyche when they put all this work in the offseason and everybody comes back and then you're 2-2 and you're staring down that month of October? Is it what is that mindset? What is the work ethic like for those weeks where you feel like, man, we can't even get to the playoff now? We're 4 weeks into the season and we've been eliminated. The answer to that is don't eliminate yourselves and win them all. But if it happens, that's my one worry about, because I think they'd win most of those games either way. But I guess when I look back, I just wish Clemson was a little later so you could get a little more. If you all lost to LSU, you could get some momentum building again for that game. But you might beat LSU.
Yeah. I will say how you play matters. What do those games look like? I mean, are you in a war with LSU that ball bounces the wrong way and you lose 28-27? You're in a war on the road with a top 10 Clemson team and you lose 31-28. But you've shown yourself to be an elite team that's come up short in a couple of close contests. I don't know that this team would feel sorry for itself. They've got a great culture. Yeah. I think they would. I mean, we just saw them do this, right? They lost 3 straight and they didn't give up on themselves there. I just don't think they will because they returned the vast majority of this team with a bunch of kids that are hungry. Yeah. I think the mindset would be, let's go whoop ass for the rest of the schedule and see if we can't get our revenge in the ACC championship game and let the pieces fall where they may. If they finish the year 10-2, and you win the conference, nobody's going to be that upset, man.
Well, and the exciting part about it, too, is what if you do go 4-0 in September?
Oh, well, buddy,
you've got a long runway where you're going to be one of the top 5 teams in the country for a good long – I mean, you start stacking on wins, and all of a sudden you're 8-0, 9-0, and everybody's watching you. And you have a legitimate – that game against Miami, people will really be watching. The game against Florida. I mean, and then you would have the ACC championship game again. If you win those 2 games in September, you're going to be a top 5 team for the whole season. The whole season, which is a cool place to be, no matter how it ends, how the postseason ends up. If you have a low number by your name for 12 weeks, that's a really big deal.
Yeah, and after the bye, you play Virginia Tech. I'm telling you, they could have one win at that point. This place in Tallahassee is going to be bedlam if you're 4-0, because then at that point you're doing a different exercise as a Nole fan. You're coming to celebrate this group every week, almost like in the past tense. You're celebrating them. And then you're doing scoreboard watching and style points watching to see how far you can climb within the structure of the college football playoff. That would be a really fun conversation to have. But it all starts with that LSU game, which we knew before tonight's exercise even started.
Right.
It's not quite a playoff game because you can lose it and still make your way to the playoff. But, man, it feels like a playoff game right out the damn gate in Orlando.
Yeah. It's and maybe that's the best time to play them. And maybe that's the best time to play Clemson. But you have an experienced team with a whole bunch of dudes coming back that have played a lot of football, and they know what it's like to win in September. So maybe it is the best time to play those two teams while Clemson's still trying to find its footing with a younger team, and they lost some serious guys off that team.
Wilmer's point about playing Pitt on the road before you play Miami, I can understand there's, if you're going to have concerns about certain matchups in the order of things, that could be a problem. Like if you have a look ahead to Miami, Pitt's good enough to beat you. They usually have good enough players and they're coached well enough to beat you. Slovis is the quarterback. He is what he is. Look, again, if you have conference championship and playoff aspirations, then you're good enough to deal with Pitt and Miami back-to-back. That shouldn't be that big a deal.
What'll be interesting to see is the fallout of the other teams in the ACC as well. We have, we got a couple of answers like who does Miami play before they come to Tallahassee, and that's at NC State. But when you look at that grid, I love that grid where they show.
You're wrong, by the way, Jeff. It's not Slovis. It's Jerkovich, the Boston College kid. He transferred to Pitt. I knew they got a new quarterback.
I forgot about that. Slovis was there last year.
Yeah.
And he transferred in.
Yeah, so Jerkovich, who has not played Florida State well. Anyway, sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it looks like they're waiting until 8 maybe, because I'm looking at all these other teams' official social media accounts. They haven't put out their 12-game rundown. Florida State hasn't officially released their own 12-game rundown yet either, even though we know we have the luxury of knowing what games 11 and 12 are in Tallahassee. But when you look at those other ones and see the circumstances of how we play other teams, like, for example, Clemson's schedule is going to be interesting beyond our game. I think they play North Carolina and Notre Dame also this year. So if you're talking about just for style points and all that other stuff, this is going to be a fun discussion, as I'm sure you guys will have tomorrow morning as you record headlines.
Yeah, so we do get to do that tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow morning will be Corey and Ira and myself. You will get a fresh headlines. It will not be live as it normally is, as we have player interviews for baseball and the like. So there's a lot going on right now. Baseball is getting ratcheted up. Corey, I think we should take the first hour of headlines tomorrow to dissect the last 3 minutes of the Florida State Clemson basketball game.
How about just the last minute?
Let's let everybody kind of really let that marinate over them, and we'll get into all the decisions and the machinations behind that loss.
Quit bringing up stuff like that. This is a football day. This is a football show. We don't talk about hoops this season. This season, we're banned from talking about hoops. Thank God that was only an hour show, though. I thought it really had the pace of a 2-hour show there to start off with, but it was only an hour.
All right. So with that, we signing off, kids? Do we have mandates? So.
We had a mandate. That was us three getting together. There was a nice mandate breaking down the ACC football.
It was a great date. I love you guys.
Yeah.
Peace.
Corey's decided it's ice cream time for the Cameron family. You guys all enjoy your evening. Go Noles. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as they told you right there. Get on the subscriptions, guys. I've been noticing half-stepping lately.
Breakdown on the site, too. Wow, Ira's already got takeaways from the schedule. That's being
we got takeaways. Wake Up Warchant coming up soon this week here. We've got Seminole headlines tomorrow, the JCS W's and L's on Wednesday. We got baseball interview. We got a lot.
Yeah, get on there. Quit being a baby and get on there.
Goodbye, everybody.